Before you analyze, before you defend yourself, before you try to be intelligent about what you're about to hear, pause for a moment and notice something uncomfortable. The part of you that is already resisting this message is the exact place where it needs to land. This is not a test of logic, not a performance of knowledge, and not a game of right or wrong. It is an encounter. It is invincible because it does not ask permission. It creates connection because it speaks to the tension you carry quietly. It generates identification because you already recognize the wound. It touches pain because it does not avoid it. And it offers a solution because truth, when faced directly, stops bleeding you dry. In front of you are 4 knives. They are not tools for violence. They are instruments of clarity. Each one cuts in a different way, and each one speaks to a different kind of person. Do not compare them. Do not search for the correct answer. Simply notice which one pulls your attention first, because attention reveals where you are already exposed. Knife 1 speaks to the one who is tired of pretending. This blade is clean, balanced, and honest, with no ornament to distract the eye. It speaks to you if your life looks stable on the surface, but feels hollow when no one is watching. You learned early how to perform competence, how to say the right things, how to appear composed while quietly cutting pieces of yourself away to remain acceptable. You are efficient, admired, and inwardly exhausted. The truth this knife carries is sharp because it removes the mask without asking for your consent. It cuts through the identity you constructed to survive approval, and it does not apologize for the sting. Alan Watts often pointed toward the quiet absurdity of living as a role while mistaking it for the self, and this knife reveals that absurdity in a single motion. The pain you feel is not punishment. It is the sensation of circulation returning to a part of you that went numb. You are not broken. You are compressed. You are not lost. You are folded into an image that no longer fits. The cut hurts because it separates you from a false continuity, the story that says you must keep being who you were yesterday to deserve existence today. The solution offered here is not reinvention, but release. When the blade slices through the illusion of control, what remains is a quieter strength, one that does not need applause to breathe. This knife invites you to stop rehearsing your life and start inhabiting it, even if that means disappointing the versions of you that others have memorized. The truth cuts, but it also cauterizes, sealing the wound created by years of self-denial. If this knife feels familiar, comment the phrase, "I stopped performing my life" below, not for anyone else, but to mark the moment you recognized yourself. And if this kind of clarity resonates with you, subscribe, because the next blades go deeper into places most people avoid naming. Stay with this feeling for a moment. Do not rush to the next meaning. Let the edge rest where it landed, because awareness, once sharpened, cannot be made dull again. Knife 2 speaks to the one who is carrying anger like a private religion. This blade is heavier, darker, marked by use, and it draws you in not because it is beautiful, but because it feels familiar in your hand. It speaks to you if you have learned to survive by hardening, if disappointment taught you vigilance, and if resentment slowly became your sense of justice. You tell yourself that anger keeps you safe, that sharpness equals strength, and that softness is a luxury for people who were never betrayed. This knife cuts differently. It does not slice cleanly. It presses. It exposes. It forces you to feel the weight you have been calling protection. The truth it carries is uncomfortable because it reveals how long you have been confusing pain with identity. Somewhere along the way, the wound stopped being something that happened to you and became something you are. Alan Watts often warned about the mind's tendency to cling to suffering as a form of meaning, and this knife brings that insight into the body. The cut hurts because it separates you from the story that says your anger makes you real. Without it, you fear emptiness. Without it, you fear silence. Without it, you fear discovering that the world did not conspire against you as personally as you believed. This knife does not judge your rage. It understands where it came from, but it refuses to let it remain in control. The pain you feel now is the realization that anger, left unchecked, does not protect the wound. It preserves it. It keeps you sharp, yes, but always bleeding. The blade presses until you see that the energy you used to stay defensive could become clarity, presence, and direction if you stopped aiming it backward. The solution here is not forgiveness as performance, nor denial as spirituality. It is honesty without narrative. It is seeing that your anger was a signal, not a home. Once received, it no longer needs to scream. This knife invites you to put down the armor you forged in survival and discover what remains when you are no longer at war with echoes of the past. If this knife found you, comment the phrase, "I release the anger I used as armor," below. Say it once, and let it be enough. And if you want to keep exploring truths that do not flatter but free, subscribe now, because the next blade cuts through something even more subtle. Do not rush away from this recognition. Anger dissolves slowly when it is finally seen clearly. Let the pressure ease on its own, because awareness once applied continues working long after the blade is set down. Knife 3 speaks to the one who is exhausted from seeking certainty. This blade is thinner, almost delicate, sharp in a way that feels surgical rather than aggressive. It draws you in if your mind never rests, if every decision feels heavy, and if you are constantly searching for the correct interpretation of your own life. You have read, listened, analyzed, planned, revised, and still feel suspended between options, afraid that one wrong move will expose you as unprepared for existence itself. This knife does not slash. It slips in quietly, cutting through the addiction to knowing. The truth it carries is unsettling because it reveals how control disguised itself as wisdom. You were told that clarity comes from accumulation, that the more perspectives you gather, the safer you become. Yet the cut exposes something simpler and more frightening. Certainty is not the reward of thinking. It is often the escape from living. Watts spoke often about the illusion that life must be understood before it can be trusted, and this blade makes that illusion bleed. The pain you feel is the collapse of mental scaffolding you built to delay commitment to the present moment. This knife cuts through the belief that hesitation is humility. It shows you how doubt, when repeated long enough, becomes a sophisticated form of fear. You postponed action not because you were careful, but because choice feels irreversible, and irreversibility threatens the fantasy of control. The wound opens when you see how much energy you spent circling the door instead of walking through it. The sting is the realization that life was never waiting for your conclusion. The solution offered by this blade is not recklessness, nor blind faith, but participation. When the knife severs the need for guarantees, what remains is direct contact with experience. You discover that meaning does not arrive fully formed, it emerges through movement. You do not think your way into alignment. You step, adjust, stumble, and learn. The cut heals when you accept that uncertainty is not a flaw in existence, but the space where life breathes. If this knife chose you, comment the phrase, "I act without needing certainty," below. Let it mark the moment you stopped negotiating with fear disguised as intelligence. And if this perspective is opening something in you, subscribe, because the final blade confronts the deepest illusion of all. Stay with the quiet that follows this cut. When the mind loosens its grip, something older and steadier begins to guide you. Knife 4 speaks to the one who is afraid of losing themselves. This blade is unlike the others. It is reflective, almost mirror-like, and when you look at it long enough, it feels as though it is looking back. It draws you in if your deepest fear is not failure, not rejection, not pain, but disappearance. You have built a strong sense of who you are, reinforced by memories, labels, roles, and achievements, and beneath all of that lives a quiet anxiety. If I let go of this identity, will anything remain? This knife cuts at that exact point. Slowly, precisely, without drama. The truth it carries is the most unsettling because it does not attack your wounds, it questions your center. The pain arises when the blade separates awareness from the story you call me. You begin to notice that much of your suffering comes from defending an image that was never stable to begin with. You tried to secure permanence in a world defined by movement, and the tension of that contradiction has been exhausting you for years. The cut hurts because it reveals how much effort you have spent trying to remain someone instead of simply being present. This knife does not destroy you. It exposes the illusion that you were ever as solid as you believed. The fear of vanishing softens into something unexpected when the cut goes deep enough. Relief. The realization dawns that what you truly are was never confined to the narrative you protected. When the blade slices through identity, what remains is not emptiness but openness, not absence but space. The pain is the last resistance of the ego releasing its grip on authorship. The solution here is surrender without collapse. It is discovering that you do not need to know who you are in order to live fully. Life does not require a fixed self to move through you. When the knife finishes its work, you see that awareness was always there, watching roles come and go like weather. Nothing essential was lost, only the weight of constant self-definition fell away. If this knife reached you, comment the phrase, "I am more than the story I defend," below. Let it stand as a quiet declaration, not an argument. And if this journey through cutting truths resonated with you, subscribe now, because awareness, once awakened, keeps unfolding in ways the mind cannot predict. Do not rush to close this experience. The deepest cuts heal in silence. And in that silence, something timeless recognizes itself again.